Okay, somebody asked about my knife in one of the videos, so thought I'd do a little video on it and show you guys some of the modifications. Here it is. It is a older BK7 Becker knife and tool, Model 7, made by Camillus. Now, Camillus went out of business a few years back, so if you find one of these nowadays, you'll probably pay a good premium for it. But K-Bar recently started making them again. I don't have any experience with the Becker K-Bar, but I do know K-Bar is a good company. They make good knives, and as far as I know, Ethan Becker is still behind this project, so I have no problem recommending the K-Bar blade as a replacement for the Camillus. Now, this one has been modified a good bit by me. As it was a usable knife, but for me it needed some modifications to turn it into a real user. So let's see here. So first thing I did, or some of the first modifications, we'll start with the blade here. As you can see, I just took my Dremel tool, good old Dremel there. It can get you in trouble sometimes, so you gotta be careful with that, but it made a choil. I just used a round wheel very slowly, working very slowly. All the mods on the blade were done very slowly with water, cooling it down so I didn't ruin the temper. But I just used a round wheel and cut a choil out of it. I just rough marked it with a Sharpie, and then what that does allow me is to really choke up on the blade, and I can get some real fine cutting done here. Get up on this blade and you can just get some real fine controlled cutting with a larger blade, So, see, oops, there we go. So that was the reason. And for a big knife, if you really want to turn that into a real wilderness tool, a real survival tool for you, put a choil in there or get one that has a choil. It really does increase the capabilities of your knife. And the second thing I did was it had a thumb ramp with some jimping on there. I don't like those on any knives personally, so I filed it down, used the same wheel here, did it because it was pretty high, so I used the same wheel, ground it down, then filed it. You can see right here some of the remaining jimping. It's not totally flat, but I got it down good enough for me and my purposes. I squared the back edge off. That way it is carbon steel, and I've been able to get sparks from a piece of flint, so that's good. And then on here I removed some of the coating, so I have a nice sharp edge here for striking a metal match. And then if you can see right along here, I just scraped a little more off. That way I can use it for scraping bark and things like that. As far as the edge, for my purposes, the edge was an excellent edge out of the box. It was just too thick for me, so I thinned it out. I did it by hand on some Norton bench stones and finished it out with a black Arkansas stone. It's about half the original thickness that it was. I found that just a little trial and error. I started at about a quarter and then used it, didn't like it, so went to about half the original thickness, and it still chops and splits out very well, but with that extra, with that half now, I can really slice and just improve the slicing and geometry of it a lot. So that was about it on the blade. It's a 7-inch blade roughly. It's about 1/8 inch thick. It has a high saber grind. You can see right, I don't know if the camera will pick it up for you, but right along here, especially where I've been splitting, that's full thickness. Then right here it's just thinned, full flat, not full flat, but flat from here down. It slices very well, chops very well, very good cutter. Now moving on to the handle, I found I forgot what they make this handle out of. It's some sort of resin impregnated stuff. For me, it was way too thick. It was too thick. So I removed the scales, put them on a flat surface with some sandpaper, and just sanded them back and forth. I think it took about 30 seconds or a little more off of each scale for about a 1/16 of an inch or so total for the thickness there. Excuse me, getting tied up with my tongue. So now it's a lot thinner than it was, and it's a lot more comfortable. You just got to be careful right here on this screw, which is the thinnest part of the handle. I'm about maxed out when I got the screws tightened back down. So if you go any more thinner than that, you'll have to do some work with the screws, file them down so they're not poking out. Also, if you can see, this area right in here kind of swelled out some, and it was a little too much of a swell that when I choked up for doing work with, fine controlled work, it was very uncomfortable. So I just took some wet dry sandpaper and just sanded this area down a little bit. It's got a little bit of reduction in it, helped a whole lot. And then just for a little added traction and grip, I took the Dremel again with a little round cutting bit, I don't know what it was, and just free-handed some checkering, if you will. It's just rough freehand, but it's excellent. It really improved the grip. I mainly just did all the work to the handle until I could get like some micarta handles for it, but in the end I really like it, so I haven't changed it. I've had this knife, I don't know, I think since about 2005 maybe, so I've had it a while. It's my main user. This blade length is my preference for most work. I've chopped and split and whittled trap triggers and fuzz sticks and cleaned animals and everything you needed, or everything you would need it to do. It is done for me. Never gave me any problems. Holds an edge really well. I want to say 1095, but I'm not sure these days. It's been a while. I'm not real clear on the specs anymore. So, and for a big knife, it can do real small stuff. I mean, I can, make little shavings, and fuzz sticks and trap triggers. So for a 7-inch blade on a piece of cardboard and pretty thick by some standards, that there's pretty good by me. I mean, it doesn't need to be much better than that. So excellent blade. If you have one made by Camillus, get it. Make some mods to it if you want to still. As far as I know, you can make the same modifications to the K-bar version. So I guess that'll about do it for the knife here. Well, let me see. Add a stick. Oh, here we go. I just make there's a little notch here real quick too. Just for shits and giggles, I reckon. Clean it out, a little bark off here, and there you go. A little notch right here. There's the basics of a lot of traps, and you can make a point real easy. I mean, it's a big blade, it's thick, but it carves well, it slices well. I've used it a lot over the years, and so, well, there you go, folks. That'll about do it for the knife. I think I about got all the modifications that I've done to it, so stay tuned, and on the next one I'll go through the sheath and what all I did with that one.